Good morning, and thanks so much for joining us here in St. John's. It's our pleasure to have you. Welcome back to all of my former students and to all of the former students of the School of Human Kinetics and Recreation. We love to see you all. I love to brag about you all, and it's great to be here. And in case you're wondering about the shirt, it's actually a big old heart. And I was listening to John last night, and I was really thinking about how physical education and health educators are the hearts of their school. They are the heartbeats of their school. And when I was choosing between the penguins and the heart this morning, for the baseline of this is how TA dresses up, i.e. a t-shirt with a suit coat, the heart went out. And I will be addressing you this morning from my heart to yours, and I always like to get going with a little bit of raucousness, so hopefully the sound plays nice, and here we go. Language of measurement that makes me look better. So I lift in pounds and I run in kilometers. So as I'm up here talking and telling you some stories about my adventures in climbing Mount Everest, I'd also like you to be thinking about what your Everest is, what your summit is. Because I do believe we all have them. And of course, they're not all the same mountain. Maybe there's a few in here that would actually think about climbing the world's highest peak, but maybe your summit is really about getting through today, getting through a semester, helping out someone in your family, looking after your community. Whatever your Everest is personal to you, individual to you. And so as I'm thinking and talking about my Everest, I'd like you to be thinking about what your Everest might be. And I'm a huge fan of acronyms. I love acronyms. And until last June, my name was an acronym. It's one of the great mysteries of the province. What does TA stand for? No matter what school I'm in, I can guarantee what the first question is, Miss, what does TA stand for? And my answer is always totally awesome. And my next answer is, you can find the answer if you use your wonderful research skills. So an acronym for an Everest. Your Everest will require that you be engaged with it. It's going to require some verisimilitude, and indeed I practice saying verisimilitude in front of the mirror every day. It has to be truthful to you. You can't live out anyone else's Everest. It can only be your Everest. It's going to require some effort. Absolutely, it's going to require resilience. Excellence, it's going to ask you to aim for excellence. Oftentimes with our Everest, there needs to be a little luck or synchronicity along the way. And it takes time. Most often it takes a lot of time to come together to our Everest. And you'll notice the little R is a little bit bigger today, and I thought, knowing the big launch that was happening today this morning, that of all of my Everest stories, that I would think and talk a little bit about the R. The resilience that I've learned about, how I developed that resilience, and how I work with folks in and around the R of the Everest. I just want to pause for a moment. We heard the word path quite a bit last night as John spoke with us. And I always like to stop and pause and say, how did I get here? How am I here speaking with you today? So if you would just take 30 seconds to put it in the front of your mind, what paths brought you here to be sitting here today? And what are your aims and goals for being here today? And what are the foundations that you bring here with you today? And while you're having that moment, I'm going to have a drink, because as you can imagine, I'm a little bit jacked. So what has brought you here today? paths that brought me here today. It's not Everest, it's actually Denali. And Denali is the highest peak in North America. And I had an idea that I wanted to climb it one day. But I just happened to be going to Alaska for another reason. I went to go see it. And this view of Denali is from about 50 kilometers away. And I stood there in awe, as most do. Denali means the high one. And I was so excited when President Obama restored it to its indigenous name. And I stood there and I thought, will I climb this? And you know what my first thought was? No way. It is too high, too hard, too far, too cold, too expensive. Anything I could put after the word I did. So that's the other thing I'll ask you. Think about the words that come after the words to, T-O-O. When we think about making change, either personally or professionally in our schools, we often say it's to something. Those are cues to obstacles. Whatever usually comes after the word T-O-O, it's an obstacle. And I thought I was done. Great, cool, that's too hard, I'm done. And if any of you happen to come back to St. John's in August, you know we have a regatta, the oldest regatta in North America, 6-seat fixed rowing, a focus of community physical activity. And I was down watching the athletes, and I saw something. I saw what I call a single pointed attention. They were there. They were engaged. They were all in, or as we sometimes say in Newfoundland, faces and eyes in. And I realized that I was in a bit of a crisis at that point, midlife crisis, relationship breakdown, that I needed that single pointed attention to help me through that time. So I said, wow, maybe it's that mountain. And when I'm talking to children in school, I often talk about our inner pufferfish. You know, finding Dory and finding Nemo, you got that little pufferfish and it's swimming around, and his little spines are tucked in, and then something brings it out! Usually scares the bejesus out of it. And its spines come out, and for me, an Everest or a Denali often has that sense of poking me from the inside. So often too, I ask people to listen to that voice inside you. Listen for the little poke from the pufferfish, because it can be a cue that you're being called to the summit. And Denali taught me this really, really important thing, and that is in our lives and in our work, we often need to go between the view and the footsteps that take us there. That view is that change that we want to see in the world. It's how we want our schools to be. It's how we want our children to grow up in healthy, wonderful lives. It's our aim for our own lives. And sometimes we stop at that. That's what we want. And we don't take the footsteps that take us there. Other times we cut the footsteps and we're running all over, and good knows I've been doing that the last 2 weeks, getting ready for the term that starts on Monday. But we've got the footsteps without the view. And what ideally we're doing is alternating our attention between the view and the footsteps that take us there. So oftentimes we need to imagine what seems initially impossible. We need to accept the invitation to try to figure it out as we go, because oftentimes the path all the way through isn't clear. We've got to create support. No matter what our Everest is, we need support in getting it done. We need to make a plan for how we're going to do that. And usually, at least in my experience, it's going to require often a period of discomfort. We got to get off the couch. We need to move in all kinds of ways, both figuratively and literally, and then we get on. And when we take on our Everest, we're going to face obstacles. And these obstacles are ones that we quite fear in mountaineering. They're the crevasses. This one's quite kind. It's out in the open. It's a known obstacle. We can see it. We can make a plan for going around it. Sometimes we'll go out around it. Sometimes we'll walk across that lovely little snow bridge in the middle. And sometimes we need some specialized help. We have that team of icefall doctors, those Sherpas that bring in those ladders that you've seen. So there's a lot of different ways to get around the obstacles. So I made the decision I would start making preparations to climb Denali, so I trained in our old weight room. I climbed for 26 days and was lucky enough to take our Newfoundland and Labrador flag to the summit of North America. And I know some of you aren't as familiar with our flag, so there's going to be a quiz. So please put this image in your mind so that when we get to that quiz a little bit later, you'll laugh and that'll be good. So it was a magical moment in mountaineering where it all comes together. You've got the weather, you've got your mental focus, you've got your team, everyone has stayed well and motivated, and you stand on top. It's a magical moment. But what's amazing to me is I've actually learned that that magical moment comes to me whether I'm summiting Signal Hill or whether I'm summiting Denali. So I said, okay, this is pretty awesome. So another path that has brought me here, Jacinta was kind enough to invite me to her school after I climbed Denali to share some pictures and stories of climbing that mountain. That is why I'm also standing here, because she invited me. This was the very first school that I spoke in, and it was there when I did that presentation that I came and realized that when I'm speaking in schools, the wonderful thing is I'm like a Pixar movie. Anyone else Pixar movie fans? Yeah, I love Pixar movies because they're pitched on all kinds of levels. And so families can go and enjoy them together, the kids will laugh, the grown-ups will laugh. And for me, when I spoke in schools, what I realized, yes, my stated goal and intention was to inspire the youth of Newfoundland and Labrador to become more physically active and to have big dreams of their own. But what I also saw at the same time is I could inspire their teachers. And as we have inspired teachers, we have inspired students. And in terms of my teaching relationship with Jacinta, she came along on my 2010 Everest trek-in for that climb. And then she and her sisters climbed Kilimanjaro this particular last climbing season. And what I get to see then is you get cycles and circles of inspiration. And it's always been my belief that as we identify and take on our own personal Everests, we inspire those around us to do the same. And Jacinta and I have been mutually inspiring each other as we've been going. So that's also brought me here today. Some other paths that brought me here today. And I actually had also meant to say that hopefully as I'm doing my presentation, I'm also Pixaring. And so you'll see one of my agendas coming out here pretty quickly in this set of slides. How did I come to climb Mount Everest? People will ask me that. How did I come to have the skills and the attitudes and the ideas that I could actually pull off Mount Everest? Well, one was very early exposure to heights. One was some very important people in my life. This is my Oma. Those of you that have been hanging out with me for a while know what a critical, wonderful, significant adult she was in my life. And you can see that I liked to go bathing outdoors from a very early age. Also, as a child and continuing on throughout my lifetime, I have a lot of time outdoors and time in nature. So I discovered that comfort and those joys of being outside. And if you can take one message home from me this morning, please sort out how to get your students and your children and your friends and yourselves outdoors. The research is piling up and piling up and piling up. I was at the Children in Nature Conference last week in Vancouver. 900 people coming together to look at how can we get absolutely everyone outdoors. And there was a movement, a worldwide movement, to see if we can green urban settings enough to get every child in the world to have access to walk only 500 meters to a safe green space in every city in the world. Imagine that as an Everest that we can undertake and how that would change everything if every child in the world could walk safely half a kilometer to a green space that they could be in. I also got a chance to learn how to garden as a young human and have that joy of going and tasting food that was coming directly from a garden, pitching peas here. And I fell in creeks. And I got wet, and I got dirty, and I got cold, and that was okay. So that when I get wet and dirty and cold as an adult, it's no big deal. I also was allowed, when I'm one of those that was lucky enough to have the so-called free-range childhood, I got to drive machines from very early ages, and I was allowed to explore my neighborhood, my cabin environment, I climbed trees, all that kind of good stuff. I think that helped me be here today. I was lucky enough to be involved in lots of multi-generational community and family-based physical activity in lots of seasons. The adults around me expected me to be competent. They trusted me to climb ladders, to do important jobs in the school. I remember one grade 6 Christmas concert. Me and 3 guys got to be the stage hands, moving stuff in and out. That stuff. People trusted me to be competent. I did a whole lot of things. I was, of course, in the age of not so much specialization, so I got to try a lot of things. Not many people have seen the picture of me as a brownie. I have to tell you about my brownie trauma because I'm still working with it. So I started brownies, as you can see in my uniform there as a fairy. It was setting what's that in English, a harbinger of things to come. The fairy matched the uniform, because at that point, our uniforms were brown and gold. Pretty awesome. Gold, brown. I'm thinking I'm liking this. I had to change schools, which meant I had to change brownie troops. So first day to go to my new school's brownie troop, they wanted me to be a Sprite. Sprites were green. Didn't match the uniform. I cried. They let me be a fairy. How else did I come to be standing here? Oodles and oodles and oodles of dedicated, engaged teachers. I know all of the names of the teachers who taught me all the way through. They were awesome. They were amazing. And some of those teachers provided me with quality daily physical activity, which set my life in flow, with lots of access to physical literacy, with feeling confident and capable of being in and with my body. I got to practice managing risk. I was involved in school sport and intramurals and community sport. And again, it was those teachers, it was you, all of you, who stay after school. It was the teacher that for 3 months before the city tracked me, came and opened the gym so I could practice high jumping. Me. At this height. Every morning she came early so I could practice high jumping. And indeed, with all that wonderful practice, I did get so I could jump within an inch of my height. And I did win third in the city, but of course my future in the sport overall was slightly limited. I am a dachshund with greyhound ideas. And Mr. Hamilton, a teacher who not only stayed after school, he took us out on weekends. He took us out in the summer, and it's where I got to climb my first mountain. It's where I discovered outdoor education. It's where he actually said, don't make outdoor education your work. Didn't listen to that part. But it was there that I got to try and climb and experience the outdoors for real. My first rappel back in the 80s when we dressed in gray sweatsuits quite a bit. So all of these brought me here to be standing here with you. And it also brought me to this idea that I've taken in the last decade that mountains are my teachers. And again, I apologize to the folks in English because I probably don't use all of these terms quite as well as I should, but I think this might be a syllogism, but it might not be. So if mountains are my teachers, then a mountain is a teacher. And if a mountain is a teacher, then mountains kind of equal nature. And then if we kind of bring that again, that nature has trees, and trees have sap, and we know that sap is the lifeblood of every tree, then we go to a lovely other acronym for you. And that acronym is SAP, Significant Adult Person. And when we have significant adult persons, they become mountains in the lives of children. And when we combine children and nature and significant adult persons, I believe we get active, resilient children who become active, resilient youth, who become active, resilient adults. You are SAPs. Thank you for being Thank you for being so sappy. Because I know that you are so much more than teachers. And John told us stories of that last night. And so teacher is a pretty good container, but sometimes a container isn't big enough. So I want you to claim the label of being a sap. Maybe a sappy sap, I'm definitely a sappy sap. When you all and we all sung the national anthem last night, I was starting to tear up. But we are significant adult persons to some youth, and we might not even know to who. And it was all of those significant adult people that were to me, in my life, made me ready to climb. And those of you that have had the pleasure of going wall climbing or rock climbing know that we start our contract with the belayer with ready to climb. And it was that network of support and skill that I was raised in and through. It gave me the readiness to climb. It gave me the readiness to climb out of a crushing grade 11 depression. It gave me the resilience to know to climb a tree, to get out of harm's way when I was about to be attacked. It gave me the skill to crawl into small places and hide from those attackers. Your kin, your people, you gave me that resilience to keep myself safe when I couldn't be because of certain circumstances. So all of that came together to make me ready to climb not only the obstacles of my regular life, but the obstacles of Everest. So when I came back from Denali, I realized I wasn't quite done with that kind of adventure-seeking stuff, so I wanted to go off and see what else I was looking for. That fish was still hooking. So I went back to the land of the prayer flag, and as I flew from Kathmandu to Lhasa, what did I see? Of course, but Mount Everest up the airplane window. And I had that little sense that something was going on. And I came to this moment where I said, I don't really want to take Land Rover back to Kathmandu. I don't really want to get on the airplane. I'll find a team, I'll find a bike, and heck, let's just ride the 1,200 kilometers back to Kathmandu. How hard could it be? And it was there that I really formed the relationship with the prayer flags. Prayer flags you see high, flying in high mountain places in Nepal and Tibet. I absolutely adore them. I have them in my office. The different colors represent the different elements. Fire, water, earth, air, and sky. They also represent our different energies. And you know, you'll know your students in your class. You'll have fire students, and you'll have water students, and you'll have sky students. And they taught me also to bring them into thinking about when I'm working with my life and when I'm working with my students, that I'm ideally working with all of these pieces, all of these energies, all of these ways of being in the world. So we started riding. That was awesome. The road wasn't too bad. It was paved for the first 2 days, then it got to dirt, and then it went to dirt under construction, and then went under more construction. I got some prayer flags there on the bike, and then we saw signs like this. Danger, well-runs, and danger, danger. So after 38 kilometers of riding uphill, from an elevation of 3,000 meters to 5,200 meters, I look like this. Friday afternoon in the staff room at most schools. And I was there, and I knew I was a little bit impaired, because again, dehydrated, big physical day, but I knew I needed to come home with the picture. So there I go, and here's your quiz. I couldn't figure out how to hold the flag. There I was going, I'm spatially challenged. Should I see it right? Should the camera see it right? I'm like, oh, I don't know. But you know what I did? And I know you've all done it in your classroom. I said, you know what? I'll shoot it both ways. I can figure this out when I get back to sea level. Because at 5,200 meters, there's only half as much oxygen available to my brain as here to us here at sea level. So I knew I could figure it out a little bit later. And that was a wonderful key learning, is we don't always know how to figure it out, and we can take some patience and time to do that. So I kept riding in the center left from Mount Everest, so I did. And I don't know about you, but some days life feels like this. It's going great. We're riding up to that pass. The laptop is talking to the thing, and it's got sound coming out of it, and you know, training's going well, and I think I'm going to get to my Everest. This is going to be awesome. Really. And then. Sometimes that road is going to be a whole lot longer than we ever bargained for, than we ever wanted it to be. In this part of Tibet, the road builders were paid by the kilometer. And in our lives, we come to many intersections. These were the paths that I'm asking you to think about as I'm talking. What were the paths that brought you to become physical and health educators? What brought you here? This path brought me to where I went next. I was choosing between the Loud Ditch and the Pearl Peak Supreme Headquarters. Well, that sounded a little bit nicer, so I turned right. And what did I see, of course? But the full face of Mount Everest from the Tibetan side. And it was there that that little pufferfish told me, it's time to try to climb Mount Everest. So I took this picture, and I got it right on the first take because I practiced. In case you ever need to know, you put the points in your left hand. And I took this picture because I'd gotten a glimpse of that Everest. And I'm here to tell you that those glimpses sometimes can be quite fleeting. It's that glimpse of ourselves. It's absolutely positively awesome without a doubt. It's that glimpse of that thing that's going to move us forward. So I wanted to capture it. Because at that point I wasn't terrified about the climbing, though I probably should have been. I was terrified about the fundraising. Because contrary to how you're perceiving me up here at the moment, I'm actually a fairly shy, phone-phobic human. I had no idea how someone like me who can take 10 days to get the courage to make a phone call. Email was invented. Thank you very much, folks. How I was ever going to raise the money? I had no idea. So I took a picture so I wouldn't forget. So as you're here at the conference over the next couple of days, if you see that Everest, if you feel that Everest, capture it in some way that makes sense for you. Take a picture, write it down, write a journal, go for a walk, grab it, so that when you get back into that lovely spin we call our everyday lives, you'll remember, so that you can decide whether you're going to take some steps, some actions towards it. So I needed to get ready to go. And you know, we've got the wonderful dance demonstrations and things coming at noon. I hear there's a dance off tonight, and I know that you can sing. So in getting ready for an Everest, I think sometimes it's helpful to have a metaphor. So for me, I know those of you that are Johnny Cash fans in the crowd, let me see them. Where's the Johnny Cash fans? Nice! When I ask that question in high schools these days, it's kind of interesting. You've got a couple students who will actually give me the chicken wing. You've got a few great teachers. But I turn to Johnny Cash for my guiding metaphor in taking all this on. Nobody can sing, but I'm a little karaoke. Come on.
Love is a burning thing, and it makes a fiery ring.
Oh yeah.
My love is fire. I fall into a ring of fire. I fell into a burning ring of fire. I fell down, down, the flames burn higher, and it burns, burns, burns. The ring of fire, the ring of fire.
Was going to be kind of like the burning ring of fire. And I knew some days that bonfire would be lovely to gather around and roast marshmallows on, and I know what other days I would be at risk of being burned to a crisp by it. I knew some days I would leap over it, but it gave me words to describe what I would need to pull resilience out of the back pocket. It gave me codes to say to folks. And as I said, that when we take on big projects, normally called our lives, that there's going to be times when life's going to feel like this. It's going to feel like you're dragging a tired up signal hill. And I actually do that on occasion. It's a great way to try to pretend I'm on a mountain when I live at sea level. And you strap it on and you go, and it makes you go really slow. Because at high altitude, we move really slow. And you really want that summit to come fast. Because in some ways, you're like, your whole being is screaming, what the heck are you doing here? And you have to just keep stepping, and then the thing is tough. So hauling the tires up the hill's pretty good. And as you probably discovered being here, Newfoundlanders have some pretty funny senses of humor. So if you're hauling a tire up the hill, they want to stop and give you your opinion on what you're doing. So, you know, where's the rest of the car? Are you going to retire soon? At the bottom of Signal Hill is actually tempered zone, which is quite steep, and when we're being fully honest, we go all the way to the bottom. So I'd already done one pull up the hill, I'm at the bottom of Temperance. And then there's someone sitting, there's some construction on the go, and he's sitting in a truck. Maybe he's just back from Alberta by the size of this truck. And he's leaning out the window and he's got his arm, and he says, hey, darling. All right, this is going to go well. He says, hey, darling, do you want me to call you a tow truck? I'm a little sleepy, and I just sort of said, well, you know, what you kind of do when you're in our kind of shoes, and you just kind of go down good. And I haul that tire up, and about halfway up the hill, I go, I know what I should say. I am the tow truck. I'm going up the hill around the visitor center, and this beautiful red Mustang comes up, screeches beside me, rolls down the window and says, you training for something? I said, you think? I think this will be the best answer I've ever had to this question, because I know I'm talking to a lot of people. I think. Some of them might be more. Maybe that was a massive assumption, I'm sorry. Anybody like sports movies? Yeah. All right, well, that kind of went not so good. sports movies. I've always loved sports movies. I love the Olympics when it comes, because you know what? When you have the Olympics, when you have a big event, you get training montages. And what are training montages? They're the path to resilience. They're cultural shorthand for how you get ready for something big, and I always wanted one. And my friend was reinventing himself from the animator on the Star Trek series in Los Angeles to a documentary filmmaker, and God love him, he came to St. John's, Newfoundland from Los Angeles in January and followed me for a week while I was training for Mount Everest, so let's take a quick peek.
You know, to many people, eating at Tim's is a vital part of training for Mount Everest. In which case, what's the good question?
Sausage or bacon? Bacon.
I'm burning, I'm yearning, I'm burning all your stuff, but that's not enough. I'm faking, I'm aching.
That's why we didn't have the conference in January.
This aching lust for love. Thanks, that was fun. Don't forget, no regrets. Except maybe one, that I scared you. When I dared you, I stared you in the eye and told you goodbye. You mocked me, it shocked me. You walked me to the bus. Thanks, that was fun. Don't forget, no regrets. Except maybe one, made a deal not to feel. God, that's the end.
All right. I didn't know that. I need a vanilla dip and I need one bad. The provincial dietitian of Newfoundland and Labrador has requested that I tell you that I only have one donut per week. Which is actually very, very true these days. I probably only butter once a month at the moment because I'm not training real hard. But I have this donut picture on my office door, and I actually kind of love it because one, it reminds me to be very playful. It reminds me to not be so tight in my beliefs about how the world should go, and I love the humor of thinking of a donut with something that says "Eat Well" on it. And I was on the phone one day in my office, and I've got some prayer flags, and I saw the door, and I realized that the colors of the sprinkles on the vanilla dip were actually the same as the colors on the prayer flags. So I realized in that moment I wasn't just having a sweet treat from Tim's. Oh no, that meant I was having an edible prayer flag. And if it was an edible prayer flag, that means I wasn't just eating it for me. I was eating it on behalf of all sentient beings. When I wrote that in my blog that day, someone said it was the finest piece of rationalization they had ever heard of eating a donut. Thank you. I can't go on unless you make that sound. So you're looking at two of my toughest taskmasters. This is Ray the giraffe and Xander the lion. And as I said, sometimes our efforts require us to be uncomfortable. And so I said, I'm going to practice being uncomfortable. So I asked my friends and family to make me my own Ring of Fire challenges, my own fear factor, and they got very excited. And so my brother's a professional firefighter, so he knew the importance of being strong in the mountains. So he said, sis, when you're getting ready to go to Everest for 1 week, I want you to carry around $100 off quarters wherever you go. So that week, I jiggled as I went running. I prayed to the gods that it didn't open when I was at the rink because the Zamboni guy would have killed me. Can you imagine quarters stuck to wet ice? When I went swimming, I just about drowned. And in bed, it was plain uncomfortable. But that was not only it. You see, Rain also had a brand new pair of mittens. And my brother knows when you go to high altitude and when in his job, he needs to work with fine motor control in really challenging safety equipment. So he said, sis, when you're carrying around those quarters for that week, if you would like to buy anything, you must put on your large Summit mittens and pay for them wearing only those quarters. I'm like, okay, you got me, bro. And I thought maybe I'd buy nothing that week. That would be a pretty good challenge. Good social justice move. But I realized I wouldn't be taking it on. So I said, okay, I'm on. Let's go. Monday morning, 10:30. Tim's at the Off Arena. That's your nearest Tim's, by the way, in case you need one. And no, I'm not on their payroll. So they once did give me a preserved vanilla dip to take to the summit of mountains. And I'm working my way to the front, and I'm almost to the front of the line. And they say, the woman says, oh, no, wait, don't tell me. I know. You want a large tea with milk and a vanilla dip. And I'm like, whoa, how did you know? She said, not many adults order that donut. And then I put on my large mittens, and with the dexterity of an ungulate, I tried to get $2.25 out of the fanny pack. Was I uncomfortable? You bet. The line was snaked out to the parking lot with caffeine-starved individuals. That weekend, the mall, hoodie, sweatshirt, beautiful, amazing, $22.95 in piles of 4. Buddy behind the counter kind of going, wow, you saved a long time to buy the sweatshirt. Finally, he crossed his arms and said, I did need a little change. So why train this hard? Physically, as you saw in the training montage, I did a lot more Ring of Fire challenges. I learned to meditate. I learned to work with my mind. And I love that there's brains on every seat. If you ask a Tibetan to point to their mind, it's quite interesting. They point here. They point to the heart. And it's really only in Western mind that we separate our heart and our mind. And I think one of the key things that we need to do now is actually learn how to work with our minds. Because there are going to be the days our moms told us about, or our dads, or our caregivers. And this is the day I turned 40 on Denali. It's not pretty. You can laugh. Let's take a quick peek.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
You are looking at someone who wishes the giant vacuum of the universe would suck her out of this situation. But I'm at 5,600 meters on Denali, having just climbed for 6 hours, shoveled snow for 4, had a half a bowl of cool noodles for my 40th birthday supper, and there was nowhere to go. It was the hours of training, the hours of support, it was building my bank of resilience that let me stay in. And I think that's what we're doing when we're teaching folks to learn how to be physically literate, when we're teaching them to be health literate, when we're teaching them how to live a full and active, engaged life. We are putting deposits in their bank that they will draw down as they go. And that was my learning on the particular mountain. And as I went forward, that I could draw down on that bank. And I'm just going to quickly zip ahead to one little piece here and say that if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, that you are a teacher. And more than that, you are a significant adult person. And you are the ripple in the pond. I often say teaching is a lot like tossing pebbles in the pond. The ripples go out, and we just trust that we're doing good work, and we're throwing pebbles in the pond. And occasionally, those ripples come back. You get a phone call from near the summit of Loeffler. You see your former student introduce you. You get a little bit of that back, and it fills your boots, as we say. It fills your boots, and you can go on working so hard. So you are ripples in the pond, and you are foundation for the path. Thank you very much.